Drupal friends. Willkommen. Bienvenue. Bienvenidos. I think you guys can spread out a bit, but just the chairs. And curve it a little bit so I can see you.
Can we curve it?
Yeah, curve it, curve it.
Let's curve it a bit.
This is you're seeing the magic happen right before your eyes. Okay, Ingo.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Hello.
Welcome everyone to our blockchain panel. I'm Audra Martin Merrick, and I'm going to be your moderator today. I'm going to meet these guys in just a second. So blockchain is predicted to change the web as we know it. Our panelists are working on aspects of the future as we speak, well, before and after this panel, applying blockchain technology within the open web space. So we're going to hear a little bit from them on what they're working on, what the challenges are with blockchain, and why we think it might be really useful and important for the future of the open web. So, because we don't have a clicker that works, I'm going to go back and forth a little bit here, but you all seem like a really nice audience, so I'm not too worried. So the way this is going to work is I'm going to ask a couple of questions. We might discuss a few points, and then we'll have a chance at the end for you all to ask questions if you've got any burning questions for our panel. First, I would like to just have everybody introduce themselves very briefly. I guess start with your name and what you're working on, and give us an idea of the kinds of problems you're trying to solve right now. Ingo, we'll start with you.
Okay, but I'm not going to do it briefly. But maybe we can make a short introduction on it anyway, because not so many people here. So my name is Ingo. Some of you may know me as the guy who invented Thunder, which is a Drupal distribution. Others may also know that I'm on the association board for Drupal, and others may know me as the CTO of Burda, which is a German publisher. And the news is I'm not the CTO of Burda anymore, since January, I think. And that came that way. As a computer scientist, you normally stumble over blockchain sometime. And I actually did this like 3 years ago. And as I was working in publishing for Burda, I went to the group board and said, okay, now this is going to be really important for us, because as a publisher in the old web, we not really have been the winners of the internet. And that is because we were just watching it and using it, like making our own old business model, like making newspapers, making magazines. We just made them online then, but we didn't influence the thing. And what's coming up with the blockchain is actually a new version of the internet. Let's call it Internet 3.0 or Web 3.0, I don't know. But I think it's going to restart the whole thing. And as a publisher, we now have the choice again. Are we just using it later, or are we going to be part of it? Are we going to influence it and maybe be then the winners of it? And then we had a long discussion, and in the end, the group board decided, okay, we do this influence thing. And this is why we invented a new company, or founded a new company, and I'm the CEO of this new company now, and it's called Bot Labs, and it's in Berlin.
Thank you, Ingo.
Short enough.
You want to pass that on to Taco?
Hi, I'm Taco. I'm co-founder of Golgorilla Drupal shop and co-founder of the Open Social project, also distribution. Maybe it has something to do that distributions are a step up towards blockchain. It might seem that way. Open Social is a 3-year-old project, and we are looking to do an ICO with our company, an initial coin offering. So we're going to create our own cryptocurrency that's called Thanks. You might see us with the t-shirts. We'd love to talk in detail to you. So it's going to be the first ICO in the Drupal community, first cryptocurrency used in hopefully many Drupal platforms. And it is a currency that has to do with reputation and reward systems in social communities. So you can see it as a gamification 3.0, where we get rid of those points and those badges that nobody uses in real life, and we're going to improve that with blockchain technology. So it's very exciting, and love to talk about the project and blockchain. And we said today in the preparation we could spend 3 hours talking about it, but we only have
Don't worry, we're
two,
not going
right?
to keep you here that long, but we will keep it interesting.
Yeah.
Thank you, Taco.
So that's me.
Thank you. I'm Gagik, co-founder and CEO of Public Foundation. We are trying to build also a blockchain R&D hub. So as Ingo mentioned, I'm in this field thinking and working on blockchain since 2016. And before that, when I came across to blockchain, I realized that we were doing mining in one of the mobile applications that we had, which was competing with Skype, Viber, and others. So I'm very not new to the tech world, investing in many startups since maybe 2000, and working on tech products, large and small companies. But I'm representing business side mostly and conceptual side. So we believe that we have a model that can help reshape the media industry and create a cell that can become a foundation for the future media. So I'm happy to share these ideas with you, and fascinating to see that I can feel that everyone here will somehow come to this point.
You can keep that for now. So Ethereum founder Vitalik Buterin described blockchain as a ledger with memory. Gagik, you added a word to that. What would you add to that?
Yeah, I would say that I heard once Vitalik talk on Russian TV. He was giving an interview, and he said that blockchain is a ledger or a journal with memory, and I immediately said it's collective memory. So everyone in the room or as a part of the network has this ledger, and so we share the same memory, which is collective. So
It seems like it fits quite well within the open source value system.
I believe it's a very simplified version of to speak about blockchain, and my colleagues will probably take on it. And however, I think we need to think about a simple technology that really has the power to do very complicated and sophisticated things with one word, which is to build an environment of trust on which we can build on. I think we have Ingo to speak about what can be built on what.
Yeah, absolutely. And actually that leads us to, I'd like to talk a little bit about the different things that you're working on, because it's interesting, you're all working within blockchain, but actually in kind of different aspects of it. Ingo, I know you're working on self-sovereign identity. What does that mean, and what do you think? What kind of impact do you think that's going to have?
Yeah, well, if you look at, well, let's first define a little bit what is identity. So for me, identity is not only my name or so, or my passport, it's also what I say about me, it's what others say about me, and it is also what I like. So if I'm a member of a Miles and More program or something, that's a part of my identity. The car I drive is a part of my identity, and all that comes together as a whole identity. And if we look at digital identity, we notice that most of the identity parts are actually stored on big servers of big companies in the USA. So most parts of your digital identity probably are with Facebook or with Google and companies like that. And actually, people seem to accept that a little bit, but in my opinion, this is actually a sign of the broken internet. And what we are trying to do is to deliver a system or a protocol, actually on protocol level, which enables the user to get control of their own identity again. So the basic idea is store your identity pieces not on a server in the USA, but store your identity pieces on your mobile phone or in a cloud space you like, in an encrypted way or whatever, and then allow services like Facebook, like Google, they can do what they want, allow them to use parts of your identity for a dedicated purpose and for a dedicated time, and then take them back again, so that you are always in the control of all your identity pieces. And
but
this is
can I interrupt you and ask, companies like Facebook say, well, we give you control over what information we store. You can get rid of it, you can decide what we keep and things like that. Why is what you're saying better?
Well, in the Facebook case, actually you pay with your identity. So there's this old saying, if you don't pay for the product, then you are the product. So if you're using Facebook, you are actually the product of Facebook. And I think this is a sign of there's something broken. There's a lot of industry and politics in Europe speaking about how can we deal with those problems? Can we make a new legislation? Can we just sue them for being so big? And I don't think this is actually the solution to the problem. The problem is actually a technological problem. There is a lot of protocols in the internet which are missing. So in the internet we can send emails with SMTP, we can send websites with HTTP, that's all fine. But we cannot send identities, we cannot send money, we don't have search and stuff like that. And this is because the old internet was actually built for research purposes and not for commercial purposes. And when the internet got commercial in the 90s, then the missing things were still missing, and they were not built on protocol level, like the internet should have done it. They were built on application level, and they were built by companies, and those companies now are the biggest companies in the world, or the most valuable companies in the world. And this is what leads to this broken internet, and blockchain is actually a big chance to repair this. And yeah, is that the
You want
answer to the
you want a
question?
picture? Yeah. Let's show a picture, if we can. No, we can't. Okay, we're going to show you a picture of what that looked like. But when you talk a little bit about you know, things kind of in the application level now being controlled by companies, you know, what does that look like if it's moving to the protocol layer? You know, give us an example of the way that might work for something else now.
Someone else? You can give an example from your own company.
Well, we started building Public as a platform, and we came to the understanding of. Well, I have to give some background. You know, where I'm a publisher, former publisher, publishing Forbes in certain countries and some Hearst titles. I was also engaged with advertising business and content distribution business and so on and so on. So I have seen most of the issues that we are trying to solve now on real life situations where we had to move money from one country to another, losing lots of money because of the fluctuations and so on and so on. And at one point we came to the understanding that we really are looking into the future where the power should be given to those who create the economy. For example, if we are talking about media, then it should be the people who create media, content creators and the publishers. And the world is not like that. So the environment that we wanted to build was not in existence to build like a global enterprising where we could invite everyone to join and own. So the most missing component was the trust, as well as the second one was the infrastructure where we could really easily move value from one to another. So even though we had this emerging peer-to-peer economy, we couldn't land legally, or any enterprise that would look into the global space and have the solutions that could enable this exchange of value between the strangers. And the most important part, again, was the trust. So this goes into also the understanding, how to reshape the entire space of media, which is now controlled by a few, duopolies or oligopolies that are much broader than any country itself, putting a very big limitation on the media space. So I think one word, blockchain, gave us the hope that we really can now use the technology and build on it to come to the place where we can invite others to own this space by being empowered by technology and having the confidence that no one is going to cheat, no one is going to steal whatever they own. And because of technology, we now can have a manless environments where smart contracts would decide, how much you own, deliver the value that you created to you, and so on and so on. Now we can really build something, and as Ingo mentioned, once you have the protocol layer, then you can start building the application. So we have moved from platform to building a sort of protocol that can be used by media, like we see with Drupal, and I would say that if we have empowered not only by the tools that Drupal is providing those people that are here, but also we give them the way to monetize and way to control this environment and govern, then I think we are really shaping a new world. So the blockchain is one word that has the power to really bring a change.
It does seem like, publishing, self-publishing has become really democratized over, the last many, many years, but it does seem like with public, you're taking that one step further even, where you're not using not just your personal blog or Medium or something like that. It is really that direct relationship between the creator and the audience, the people who are appreciating it and who are enjoying it cross borders. So it's interesting, Taco, you mentioned something about this, kind of badges and things like that, they're pretty useless, even though gamification was such an important buzzword for many years. You are working on an ecosystem around rewards and recognition. How is that different? What kind of impact is that going to make?
Yeah, so currently I think everybody knows these platforms where you can earn points and badges, and think about how much badges you will have over all these platforms. I think on TripAdvisor I have like 20 badges, of photographer of this, but what do I get from the badges and the points? So we said, gamification 3.0, or however you want to call it, should be much more than
3.0 going on here.
yeah. So wouldn't it be great if instead of TripAdvisor, earning all the money, that you can actually get tokens for your work, that you can exchange for money, that you can exchange for products, that you can take from one community to the next. So really get a tokenized reward system that we want to build with Thanks, that you can use for any type of platform. We could even use it on Drupal.org. We have the commit systems, people get credits. It's a good step, but what are we going to do with these credits? We had the issue when finishing Drupal 8. Money was needed in order to funnel and finish certain projects. If we can do that with tokens, if companies can start paying to the ecosystem, and the ecosystem can give, instead of points or badges or credits, can give actual people tokens that they can exchange for local currency or invest in other projects again, then we can really build or elevate the Drupal community or any other community that we're active in with a technology that's becoming available now. And yeah, I'm really excited about that.
Yeah, I think blockchain for a lot of people is this kind of amorphous thing that is associated with cryptocurrency, Bitcoin, and not necessarily much else. So it's interesting to hear how it can actually affect real world interactions, real connections between the different creators and users on the internet.
Yeah, I'll think we are now a bit over the hype, right? Especially the Bitcoin hype, and the projects really need to start delivering products now. And I think in this year and especially next year, you'll start seeing more and more actual applications of blockchain technology opening so much possibilities. And that's also, if you want to be involved in blockchain, you have to build products, deliver things that are actually usable for people. And I think we in the Drupal community, we're really good at delivering software and projects. So moving into the blockchain space from our point of view, I think it's really opens up a lot of doors because the blockchain people, they are very innovative, but they also need to be able to deliver the software, and we can do that. So I think it's a good match for Drupal as well.
Right. So I'd be curious to talk a little bit about the downside, the challenges, or the problems that we might have with blockchain. One of the things that's come up is around the environmental impact that blockchain might have, for mining and things like that. Do you think that that's a problem? I mean, is that going to be something that actually holds blockchain back or makes it obsolete because it's just going to be too consumptive?
Well, coming from the media industry, I just want to say sorry. I think we exaggerated it a bit. But
are you saying that was fake news?
I think it's not really fake news, but I think this is not actually the greatest problem in the world. Especially when we're talking about all this energy consumption, we always talk about Bitcoin. And yes, there is a algorithm in Bitcoin which is called proof of work, and this algorithm really uses a lot of energy. But there's newer blockchains and they don't use proof of work anymore. There's proof of stake, there's proof of space-time, there's proof of 100 different things, and all of them don't use all that energy. So it's only this proof of work mechanism. The problem actually, but there's an inherent problem in a lot of blockchains there, and in Bitcoin you can see that pretty clearly. Actually, it would be nice to take this part of Bitcoin out and replace it by a more intelligent one right now. But this is not possible because when you produce a cryptocurrency, you always produce something like a little country. You have your own currency, of course. You have your own legislation around it. You have your own governance around it. And the governance of Bitcoin has the problem that the people who vote on if the algorithm can be exchanged with a new algorithm, those are exactly the same people who invested in the hardware which now uses all the power. And so this will never happen. And this is an inherent problem of Bitcoin, but this is not an inherent problem of blockchain as a whole. We have noticed already that it's not the right way to go with proof of work. So there's new things.
So how do you think that's going to change? Actually, Gagik, can you talk a little bit about that move from proof of work to proof of stake? What does that mean? And how's that going to change things?
Before going into more technicalities, which is your field, Ingo, I'm not a very technical person. We understand that there are many aspects on blockchain, and so one aspect that we mentioned, unless we have, this was delivered in the beginning of today, when we faced the technical issue of creating something and then making it user-friendly, going to the space where you need to start using it. For example, there is a comparison with MasterCard or Visa, suggesting that we want this operability across the border and globally, so we can really use it. And people who are using, they should not feel what they are using and what technology behind it is making this operation work. So when we were starting the public, we realized that yes, blockchain is something that we can build on. But when we started looking into the existing networks, it was early on of Ethereum coming on board and so on. We realized there is nothing practically. The field is empty. And still, we can say that there is not that many applications that can stand to the level of real world and usability applications that we are expecting to have, like going to the car, clicking and taking the car, driving and dropping and, paying instantly and so on, or in China, just taking a QR code and, having the bill and so on and so on. So I think this operability is important for any application, no matter what kind of technology is behind, to really be adopted and used in real life situation. And blockchain is one piece of a puzzle that will help enable the peer-to-peer economy of the future. So our take on it was that we need a scalability, fast transaction base, space to really store. Imagine a Bitcoin network storing content for media. It will stop like CryptoKitties that just killed Ethereum, just one project. So imagine all this information coming like YouTube and so on with content and being stored on blockchain. This is not possible. So really you need also the new level of trust that will operate in a speed level of the transactions. So proof of work is something that is designed for few environments that are going to be fundamental to create the environment of trust for the currencies or for fintech. However, for proof of, however, for the real life situations like media and other implications, we need operational capability to really bring the blockchain environment to the level of the real life situation, and where we can really go fast in making consensus, transactions, and so on and so on. And proof of work is not the environment of that. So I think proof of stake is where you also can really model the higher security. Well, not security, I would say, not yet.
Should we talk
So
about security?
you bring the ability to have independence in the network, scalability, and also the ability to really expand not only the blockchain, but whatever is associated with it. So our solution was modified proof of stake, and it is a working environment that we built on our architecture because we couldn't find anything existing yet. So I think this is going to evolve, and everyone is striving to get these triple technologies that work together: the peer-to-peer economy or peer-to-peer network that is blockchain friendly, the distributed storage, which is missing somehow at the moment to really move digital data and digital assets across many environments fast. And the third one is a consensus base. And we are talking about proof of work or proof of stake. And Ingo mentioned that there might be 100 types of proofs. To me, blockchain media is going to really use proof of reputation.
Right.
So because this is what is on stake in media for all authors and publishers.
Right. So that fits in nicely with what you're all doing in terms of identity and reputation and that distributed media. Did you want to add something, Taco? No? So I guess I'm interested to hear a little bit about the challenges that this might, or the disruption that it might bring to existing systems. If we are talking about taking out the middleman, where the problems with governance or with countries, a lot of times governments are tasked with protecting their consumers, protecting their people from fraud and things like that. If we're taking out the middleman and this is cross-border, what happens there? Who's kind of keeping an eye on the henhouse, so to speak?
So for me, when going into the blockchain space, and I recommend anybody go to blockchain conferences. They're super interesting. You hear tons of new ideas. They're very energetic. For me, it's interesting to think about a future where this technology is already there. So for example, now worldwide we have about 90,000 banks, and some person said, well, we need like 10 or so maybe. So think about like a container that moves all over the world. It needs to have all these documentations and people checking that and making sure that the goods are actually in the container. Like if we can eliminate all of that, then the world is going to be completely different. So yeah, especially for the banking systems, for example, why do we need banks? Why do I need to get money from a machine? Still the paper money, especially here in Germany, still the paper, the real cash. In Holland we don't anymore. So just think about a world where all the things are much easier, where your data indeed is stored not by some big giant American company, but where you have ownership back over your data. Yeah, I love those ideas, and I think we're heading there fast.
Well, it sounds in some ways a bit utopian, and I'd be curious and we haven't really talked about money specifically, and kind of what type of money needs to be in place to support the development of this technology and the maturation of it. What is the revenue models behind what you're doing, or does there need to be? I guess how is this? I know Gagik, for what you guys are doing, you're looking at starting with investment rather than revenue. Can you talk a little bit about how you expect that to be sustainable?
Well, I think on philosophical level, I think we are moving from the centralized economies. We already moved practically, maybe just a few places in the world that still have them, like North Korea, to corporate world where we are now living. And the peer-to-peer economy is shifting us towards the public economy. And I think with the emergence of the public economy, we are going to see, tremendous boost into the, production capacity, GDP, or you name it, that we haven't been experiencing with the corporate world. So we believe that the future is after the model of appreciation versus the profit model that the corporate world employs. So, and this also implies that we are going to shift inevitably. I think it is already shifting a level down to the person who creates the economy, who creates the value in the economy. So all the power is going to be in the hands of those who are real doers of the economy, and they will start interacting directly. They already do. However, with the technology that we are discussing, and blockchain is just one part of it, maybe small, maybe big, but I think it's very fundamental that we create this cement of trust that can really start working in supporting this emerging public economy. And what we do, for example, our model is that we deliver 100% of the revenue earned by the community, 100%. So if you look into the existing models of centralized systems like Medium, you name it, YouTube and others, no one knows how much are they delivering back to the author. All authors are like slaves of these environments. They work day and night. I was in New York, hearing a very prominent journalist talking about how to work and use Twitter. And she was like, I wake up this hour, I post this, and 2 hours later I post this, I work on this, and so on and so on. It was like, this lady has no life, and this is just because of Twitter, and she has to work.
She's having her best Twitter life, I think.
Yeah. And my question was, do you own Twitter? Why are you working so hard for some environment that you don't own, and you don't know what is it doing? Of course, it is an environment where you can earn a living, but how about owning it? Imagine what a capacity you can put into something that you really own. This is yours. So I think this is the future, when you have the total ownership of the space, and this is a cooperative between those who really come together to work and create the value. Then you can really trust them to know what to do with the money they earn, instead of central banks deciding which banks should have what limitations and so on.
Yeah, I'd be curious to hear how you guys think different on this.
I was just adding something to that, because I think it's necessary to understand that in the bank system you described before, there's the bank, and it's owned maybe by shareholders or by maybe Scrooge McDuck, I don't know. But in blockchain system, it is owned by anybody who owns a coin. So when you look, as we talked about it, on the Bitcoin system, the Bitcoin system was invented by some person called Satoshi Nakamoto, but he doesn't own it. So he's just there in the background, and he owns nothing of it. Maybe he owns a couple of Bitcoins. Yes, he does. But when you invested in Bitcoins like 10 years ago, you'd be pretty rich right now. This is just by investing in the network. So you own the network by buying one of the coins. And you can also earn coins by supporting the network. So if you are a miner in the system and you do what the system wants from you, for example, with Bitcoin, they want you to do work to prove that the consensus algorithm works fine. In other systems, they want you to offer file capacity or disk capacity or storage or whatever, and you earn by doing that. And so it's a completely democratization of businesses, what's happening here. And this is, I think, very, very fascinating, because it can also not be taken over by a big corporation or so. It is just owned by anybody who wants to buy such a coin. And this is the greatest thing, actually, what's happening here.
Do you agree, Taco?
Yeah, I agree. Obviously we are big believers in this, and we're very excited. We hope to see at the next DrupalCon more people in this space. I think it's worth looking into and studying. It's complex. It also took me a while, but it's like learning to dance salsa. You need to just go, and after a while you're getting better at it. and blockchain as well, and every day there's something new to learn. Yeah, it's going to break down walls. It's going to open up a lot of opportunities. We're trying to fund open social, our Drupal distribution, in an innovating way. How can you fund an open source project? It's a big question for all of us, a big question in Drupal. And I think an ITO or an ICO, initial coin or token offering, where people buy your tokens that become more worth over time, is a new potential crowdfunding mechanism to fund open source projects. And I think with Open Social and the Thanks ICO, we want to prove that it's a new model that can help also to fuel our efforts into community. So yeah, I'm very enthusiastic, and I think we are in the forefront of this still. But if we can show new business models, if we can show new ways for crowdfunding, if we can show how to break down centralized networks, wow, yeah, I mean, everybody should rally around this. And again, I think Drupal is really good for working with this. I saw a talk about Ethereum module, so that's already connecting Drupal to the blockchain. Work is being done as we speak on that. So yeah, really try to get involved and try and see, okay, how can I use this for my ideas or my business? Or, you know, you always have this idea that maybe never came reality, and well, now there may be an opportunity to do something with that.
Yeah, to be more specific about Drupal, and to speak about the publishing model, as a publisher, I needed content, good quality content. I needed monetization so I can really sustain the publication. And of course, you need an audience who can come to read and to hear your voice. And I think yesterday we had a meeting with publishers, and there was one word that now, because of this, because of the environment we created, now we can compete on our taste of content, going out so without thinking about many things that we had to deal with. So I think the blockchain gives the ability to really bring everyone to one level where they don't need to think too much about monetization, technology, and all this stuff and they concentrate on what they really need to do. And I was looking today to the applauses, and I was thinking that what would happen if you really give all what they are doing as a contribution back to them, to people who really create this environment, contribute to create Drupal and any other open source environment. So let it not be just an enthusiasm, rather a work that is appreciated by real earning. So this is what we are talking about.
Yeah, I think it definitely is going to change the relationship of the audience to the creators. It seems like it's going to change the role of the publisher in general as a convener of audience and the seller of access to that audience. And it'll be interesting to see what the impact on advertising will be, how that'll be used in the future. There seems like there's still opportunity around the idea of identity and all these different things that you kind of allow to be part of your identity as it relates to advertising. But yeah. Now I think it'd be great to hear if you've got any questions for the panel. Any burning ideas, comments, questions you would like to pose? Got a microphone down here if you want. Don't be shy.
I actually have one. Can you discuss a little bit the difference between the public and private section of blockchain?
You probably mean permissioned and unpermissioned?
Yes, where the public part is where the ledger is open to everybody, and
I think
the private is.
This is a very good question, because a lot of people don't see that difference, and yeah, but it's a really important difference. So if you have a permission chain, that means that there's only a couple of miners, like 10 or 20 maybe, and they decide what the truth is. So that makes it really efficient and very fast. And if you have an unpermissioned chain, like Bitcoin is one, then everybody can be a miner. Just download the software, start your computer, you're a miner. You may win the block. And then you are exactly responsible for what the truth is. So the difference is actually that one system is open, more like an open source system, or more like the internet. This is the unpermissioned chains. And then there's the permission chains, and they are more like an intranet or a Microsoft Word or SAP. So this is the permission chains like Hyperledger gives you is just a software. And the problem, I think, for our ecosystem is that the permission chains, they are sold by companies like IBM, they're sold by Accenture and other nice companies, and they make a business model by just integrating them, just like integrating SAP. That's just software integration. And that's okay. That's completely okay. That's a relevant business model. But 90% of what I hear on panels is actually on the permission chains. And only 10% is on the unpermissioned chains. And when you look at what value was created by the unpermissioned chains, like Bitcoin and Ethereum altogether, this is billions. This is hundreds of billions. And when you see the value which was created by the permission chains, this was millions. So there's actually a factor 1,000 between the importance of the unpermissioned chains and the permission chains, and the permission chains are not so important, but they get 90% of the airtime. So we were talking about unpermissioned chains here. So this was one of the rare panels where you heard the people who want to make the impact and not just another software.
My personal opinion, permission chains are not blockchain chains, because this is something that you can solve with any kind of technology. It is just saying that we are not optimized, we are looking for optimization. And I was, last year I was in Bankers Magazine, conference in New York, where we had our 3 people talking about, their initiative, bringing banks into more, optimized environment, working together and so on and so on. US representing 24 million faxes sent by a day between the banks still. So I think they're trying to stay. It's like someone who is sinking, trying to catch the straw, and probably the fact that this is how much they were able to move is the proof that the other side is really what matters and what needs a blockchain to strive and to really, get the economy going.
Yeah, I want to add something. It's funny because people always think about the anonymity of blockchain, but actually everything is public at the moment, and that gives us very nice challenges. So, for example, in Europe we have the GDPR now. We all know about this. And that means that we need to be able to delete data. Well, this is easy when it's centrally stored. We just delete the records from the database. What if your information is on the blockchain, right? Cannot be deleted. So all these questions about public, private, deletion of data, side chains, it's super interesting. And as soon as you'll go into blockchain, you'll start thinking about technology and philosophy and really practical things like how do I remove data from the blockchain that cannot be removed by default, and how is government gonna, if they tell you need to remove the data, I cannot remove the data. It's like how is that gonna work? So it's very interesting to think about these things, and there's many challenges ahead, but I think blockchain is here and here to stay, and in the next time we'll start seeing much more applications using technology that will surprise us in many ways.
Absolutely. I think that is it for questions, but I want to ask if you have one final thought. Any final thoughts you want to leave the audience with to inspire them to learn more about blockchain or get more involved?
Yeah, actually, what I said at the beginning, I'd like to repeat at the end. This is going to be a new internet. We're making the internet 3.0, and this is important for everyone here. And so please dig into this subject because it's going to be important for you and everybody around you, your jobs, how your life will evolve, everything.
Yeah, for us, we're launching the Thanks project. You'll be hearing much more about it in the coming months. We'd love to get your feedback. We'd love to get you involved, or maybe it can be your first token purchase, of course. And yeah, we're around here with Thanks shirts, or you can contact us online, and we'd love to answer your questions.
As we, had several discussions among us, some of us were saying that it is the future. So if you look into blockchain projects, they're usually like 20 years from now, 30 years from now, and with the delivery, promising of this and that in very big pictures. So I would like to say that surprisingly, blockchain is already a reality, and I think you will see many projects delivering already and creating these singular spaces and markets and capacities that were not heard of, or we didn't have them. As the technology that delivers every day some surprises to us, I think blockchain is something that is going to really shake the old world that we are living in. So you're welcome to join, and this is yours. So it's really time to take the ownership, really.
Thank you very much. And thank you all for coming. I think this has been very interesting, and I appreciate to see all the different perspectives, actually very similar perspectives, but coming at things from a different angle. So thank you very much.